Hello, Newcastle School for Boys. My name is Tom Palmer and I am a children's author. And this is my latest book, which I think you know a bit about after the war. I think some of you have read some of this. Anyway, Mrs. Brown has sent me some questions that you've asked, which I'm now going to answer on this short video. So let's go for it. And thank you for asking the questions. It's really good to hear from a school, because I go into a lot of schools and I kind of miss being in schools anyway. So let's go. So what inspired me to write this story? My wife heard a radio programme about these boys who left the concentration camps and were liberated in Nazi-occupied Europe and came to live in the Lake District in England. I'm sure loads of you have been to the Lake District because it's so easy to get to from Newcastle. So my wife heard this programme, I listened to the programme and I was fascinated, and then I tried to find out more about it. So I did a bit of research and I talked to, if you go to Windermere Library, there's an exhibition there about the boys and what happened to them, and that inspired me as well. So, and then I read loads and did loads of research, and it came to me writing the book. Did you get to meet any of the children the story is based on? Yes, I've met 3 of them. I've listened to interviews with dozens of them, but I've met 3 of them, notably Eric Hirsch, who's one of my characters kind of based on. And it really helped me meeting them, because when you're writing about history, usually all the people you're writing about are dead and gone. But when you actually meet people who were children 75 years ago and they're still old men in this circumstance, it really makes you feel even more intensely that they're real people, and you've got to get your story right and you've got to be respectful towards them. So that was a big part of it. How much research did you have to do? Did you go to many places? Yes, I did loads of research. I read books, I watched films, I listened to recordings of these. If you go onto ldhp.org.uk, you can listen to the boys and their as they were older men, they sort of say what happened to them, that was really useful. But also I went to Auschwitz concentration camp, Theresienstadt concentration camp, the Lake District, and other things like the Imperial War Museum and the exhibition that I just mentioned at the Lake District in Windermere. And it was all really useful. I find if I go to places I'm writing about, I'm going to write better stories. Have you ever visited one of the concentration camps? Yes. Going to Auschwitz in January this year I had to go there, and it's not really included that much in the book, but I think I had to go there to understand it, and I did understand it, and it was a horrible experience, but it was worth it, because when I write now I know a bit more what I'm talking about. But I definitely recommend going there at some point in your life, but I probably wouldn't go there personally. I suppose I'd take my daughter now if she wanted to go, and she's 16, so I don't know. See what you think, but it's tough. It's very tough. Do you have a favourite character in the book? Yes, I do. Yes. In fact, like the boys, the children in the book, Yossi is the main character, and although there's 3 main characters, Yossi's the kind of the one we see through his point of view, and he's my favourite character in that regard. But actually, my favourite character in the book is an English girl called Joyce, who's 8 in the story, and she's based on an 83-year-old woman I know called Joyce, who met the boys and spent time with them, and she's my favourite. I suppose because I know her really well and we're in touch and we're good friends now, and so Joyce is definitely my favourite. Why did you only create 3 characters from the 300? Good question. Because I suppose I created about 10, 15 marginal characters around the main 3, but I think if you write about more than 3 characters, I can't concentrate as a writer doing so many characters and making it feel good, but also I don't think it's easy to concentrate as a reader. So I sort of focused on 3, but they had stories from lots of different, so probably the 3 boys in the book are based on the stories of about 20 of the boys in real life, and I sort of brought them all together as one, there's a word for that, isn't there? Composite character. That's what it is. So, but I thought just to make it a simpler story, because once you start having loads of names in it, it's quite difficult. But good question. Do you have any family war heroes? Not that I'm aware of. I was adopted and it was a bit of a mess, some of my childhood, but I know that certain people fought in the war, or maybe I do, but they didn't really talk about it. And the old and my grandparents and parents, I think all my grandparents and all my parents have been dead for at least 28 years, so certainly quarter of a century. So I haven't really talked to them about it. I wish I had really. And often people who've been in war don't want to talk about it, so it's possible I did, but nothing that I know about. I kind of regret that I didn't talk to them more about that now. Anyway, will you be having a VE Day party with your dog Finn? Finn's over there. Do you want to meet him? You might as well. He's a lot more interesting to look at than me. Finn, do you want to bring some apple? I'll be back in a minute. Finn, come here. Come get some apple. Here he is. Come on up. Good boy. Say hello to Newcastle School for Boys. This is Finn. His hair's a bit long, like mine. But yes, we're gonna have a party. We're gonna make, what's it called, coronation chicken sandwiches, and we're gonna make Victoria sponge, that nice one with cream and jam in it, and we might have a couple of things to drink as well. It'd be lovely. We'll have a lovely time, and I will definitely be thinking about the boys, the children, because and the English children in my story as well, because I've heard so many stories about what happened at the end of the war, and I think although we're commemorating the end of World War II, Victory in Europe Day, we're also celebrating it. I think it's different because it was a celebration as opposed to World War One, which was just. I suppose World War One was like two armies facing off each other and just killing each other for years in a simple nutshell. But World War Two was defeating the Nazis, Nazi Germany and its evil ways, and that's why celebrating is more appropriate, I think. Anyway, I'll shut up. Last question. Did any of the children ever see any of their families again? Good question. A few of them. One or two. One of them, like a well-known one, who's really well-known, is called Ben Heathcote. And his sister survived in another concentration camp, and they met 2 years later in Waterloo Station in London, and they arranged to meet because they realised each other was alive. But out of the 300, like, I would imagine at least 250, possibly more, did not have any family members left, because the Germans had been so ruthlessly efficient in horribly in what they were doing, like trying to murder the whole of the Jewish population across Europe. So most of them, and Eric Hirsch, who's one of my main characters who I mentioned earlier, or one of my main inspirations, he lost 80 members of his family, and nobody else survived. But the whole part of this story, I suppose, to finish up, is this is about these three boys, and none of them have any family left. And they become each other's family, they become close friends, and they become each family, and now they still all meet frequently, every year at least, to get together. They go to each other's weddings and each other's children and grandchildren's weddings and special parties, and they are very close, and they're a family in themselves. And I think that's what people do, isn't it? When we lose people, then we make friends and they become family for us, perhaps. Anyway, what am I waffling on about? So this is After the War. Thank you for those questions. They were very good. The book is probably coming out on the 6th of August now, although that might not be the case, but it depends on what happens with lockdown, etc. Anyway, may I wish you and your families all the best for what's going on at the moment. I wish you all well, and when it all comes out of it, I hope you manage to have a good summer before you get back to school in the autumn. All the very best to all of you, and keep well and stay safe.